This is Discovery Paranormal, the show you've been waiting for all week. I know you sit there patiently waiting, flipping through stuff on the internet, looking at things, and when is the show going to happen? So tonight, we're not only going to talk about remote viewing and how to do it, because I believe everyone can do it. It's just a matter of practice. There's these psychics out there that are very talented and in tune with all kinds of stuff, but, not all of them are 100% all the time. And I think that every person, I think every being on this planet has some kind of level of psychic ability. You have psychic connections with your pets, some of you, and you guys know it. And you're saying, right now, because they know it, you know it. And it's not just, an animal being able to judge, what time you're going to be home, so they're standing by the door. It's tuned in. You can come home different time every day. They're still going to be there. It's not that they heard you or whatever. They're tuned into you, because they want their num-nums, man. So, and that's what you are. You're a food bag with legs, and they give you love. So the reality is, remote viewing. You can practice, and we're going to talk about it later on. I'm going to give you all kinds of tips to practice remote viewing. We've talked about remote viewing before on the show. We've talked about remote viewing when the CIA had Project Stargate, and they were using mediums, these real powerful psychic mediums, to remote view Mars and the moon, even headquarters in the USSR, things like that. So it's like that, but especially remote viewing when it comes to gambling, because I'm seeing Las Vegas reopen. I'm seeing people throwing caution to the wind. COVID-19 is not over. There's a new variant called the Lambda variant coming out of Peru, which is already here in the U.S. It's already in the U.K. And they say it's vaccine resistant and it's killing people. So there you go, man. So you don't have much time on the planet anyway. Even if COVID doesn't kill you, and cancer doesn't kill you, and a runaway car doesn't kill you, or some nut job who just got released from jail because of bail reform and he's mad and he kills you, whatever. It doesn't matter what kills you. It just matters how you live your life, right? And you may as well live it more comfortably than others. I'm not saying go out and gamble. I'm saying use remote viewing for an easier path through life. Being able to see what's coming way ahead, right? That's the best, man. Putting on your high beams, literally, and being able to see that road. Isn't that what we all want? Isn't that what you want for yourselves and your family? Oh, you got your kids and whatever. Your pets, you want to be able to make sure everybody's, healthy, wealthy, and wise. You use that remote viewing for those skills, After you've done it for a while, it becomes something. It's not as external as you would think, because the words involved are deceptive. Viewing, which is something that you use your vision, your eyeballs, but this is your inner vision. This is your third eye. This is a feeling. It's a feeling. It's an energy that we're talking about. So, for instance, I got into this a while ago. Me personally, I don't gamble. Sometimes I get the feeling for a scratch-off ticket. It may sound stupid. I don't play scratch-off tickets, but as I'm walking past in the supermarket, I'll see one that I get a feeling about. I buy it, and it's a winner. Do I go back and buy more? No, because the feeling's not there for the rest of them. So it's a feeling. Am I sitting there, holding things to my head and saying, wow, what's inside of you? Nope. Do people do that? Sure. I see people run their fingers over things, which is funny to me, because it's very physical. When I think about energy and spiritual, it reaches beyond the physical boundaries of your body. You don't have to use your hand or an instrument like a wand or whatever. I mean, if people do things, if they have these devices including crystal skulls, which make me laugh when every time I hear somebody reference a crystal skull and how legitimate they are. And I laugh right in their little kitten faces. And I say, you little kittens, you don't know what you're talking about, because none of them has ever been found in a dig, you know. They found them, they originated in souvenir shops in Mexico and or South America on street corners, back in the day. And people are like, oh, but this wasn't some kind of archaeological dig that turned up crystal skulls, Oh, it was aliens. And I don't want to hear that crap either. Blame it on aliens. Blame it on the devil. You got to blame your woes and your stupidity on other things. Forget about that, because they don't want any part of your stupidity. Take the blame. Don't take the blame. The same people that use fake maple syrup, I don't understand them. I just don't get them, man. Oh, well, it's good. I mean, you're not ever going to tell me that fake maple syrup is better than the real thing. You're never ever. Oh, it's less calories. You know what? It's crap. Do you know what's in there? You ever read the ingredients? I bet you guys can't pronounce the ingredients. It's just stuff you don't want in your body. But fine. Not everyone's made to live forever. No one can live forever. No one, right? You live your life. You just heard me say anything could happen. You get struck by lightning. You could whatever, man. Hit the head with a stray golf ball. Boom. Freak deaths. Then there's the people who go out there and risk their lives constantly and they don't die. You know what I mean? I don't understand that one either. There's a certain thing about it, man. So anyway, remote viewing. I'm driving down the road. And then all of a sudden, I get this feeling that I should slow down, really slow down. I was going like 45 miles an hour, slow down to like 5 miles an hour. I did. And then 7 deer ran right in front of me. If I had slowed down, I would have crashed into all of them. So there's a thing, and is it intuition? There was no reason for me to slow down there. None. Zero. None. Never did before. So, but it was a feeling, and you got to trust your feelings. That's all. You got to trust your feelings. So when it comes to gambling, casinos are in business because people lose. Okay. People don't get rich in casinos. And I'll tell you about me personally, about gamblers, real habitual gamblers. I don't like their energy. I don't like them. I don't like being around them. I don't like the very high stress type of people. It's one thing, like, my mom used to take us, we lived on Long Island and I was raised there. My mom used to take us for breakfast at Belmont every once in a while. And, it was cool. You get to meet some of the jockeys and, these beautiful thoroughbred horses, and you have your breakfast there and whatever. And we'd have my grandmother with us, and she'd always bet $2 on a horse, like she didn't even know what she was doing. She didn't have, she didn't know how to pick boards or whatever they do. She just was like, okay, I like that one. Probably the name or something, and put $2 on it. And I don't believe she ever won either. But it was that's not the gambling that I'm talking about. Or the type of gamblers who are, always looking to gamble, always looking for a game. And they're usually the most crooked people that you'd be around. So I know some psychics who shall remain nameless, who are actually good psychics, not BS, the ones who write books and they say that how great they are, that they help the police and whatever. Meanwhile, they lie about it, and then they can't even tell you what the hell is going on, but I've known some very accurate psychics in my life, and I've known some real class act, bull crappers. So we'll just stay on the even par here. So I know some psychics who don't do readings anymore. They don't dabble in the paranormal. They spend much of their time, not even much of their time, but they spend time gambling. They'll go to horse tracks, or they'll go to a place like Las Vegas or Atlantic City. They get the feeling, they walk in, and then they gamble and they come out with a bunch of money. And this is something that these people have done consistently, because every time I wonder about people writing books or saying, here's techniques for gambling or remote viewing or that type of thing, I often wonder, how successful they are in themselves. You would think that, you'd want to get to the point where that material world is far behind you if you have that kind of money and skill to go in and gamble, right? I have three great uncles, my grandmother's brothers, Uncle Ted, Uncle Henry, Uncle Stephen. Three of them, they're all scientists, right? Chemical research and development, that type of thing. And they all owned a business together that was down in Pennsylvania, headquartered there anyway. And this is what they did. I mean, Uncle Ted, though, at some point realized that he liked to gamble better than anything. So he would go to, I mean, I don't even know if Las Vegas was much back then because it's a long time ago. They would go to places where there's gambling. I mean, there was Atlantic City. That was definitely, there was Monte Carlo. People would go there and gamble. But he was a card counter and he had a great mind for remembering numbers. It wasn't, some psychic ability, possibly, because there's the gift in the family, certainly, you know, and who's to say that he wasn't using remote viewing in his own mind, in his own self to do that. And it wasn't just about memory on putting numbers together, because I could also put numbers together, and, they use 6 decks, 8 decks. I don't know how many they use now, to play blackjack, right? And then they pull the cards out, they shuffle them back in again. And I guess if you're pretty astute and you can remember those numbers, or it's more about the sequence of numbers, and the codes. And I'm very good at remembering those things, or identifying algorithms and things like that, patterns, that type of thing. That's how my brain works. It's also how his brain worked. And I never met him in my life. He died when I was very young. So I remember his funeral. So, but he ended up getting kicked out of these places because they said he was cheating by being a card counter, by using his knowledge to do this, So even if you get the leg up on the competition, they'll squelch you out because they don't want to lose. The house does not want to lose, and if they think that, I mean, come on, they're going to see your face. They're going to know you. They're going to know your name. If there's big payouts and that type of thing, they're going to keep going. Oh, here's this guy again. Here's this guy again. And then, then you're on their radar screen, and then also now, of course, these days they share information everywhere and anywhere. So, it's very difficult to do any of that. But fine, they changed the rules of the game. That's like the government. That's like life, Like they don't ever want you to get ahead, even if you have a gift. If that's his gift, and he's not physically cheating. He's not trying to cheat the house with other people or manipulating machines or doing things like that. It's a random card count, right? So, I mean, if you want to get rid of card counters, then you should start with new decks all the time. Reshuffle decks all the time, right? And then you could, nip that in the bud, and probably a lot of them do. I'm not in the gambling world, so I really don't know. I will tell you this, though. The people I know that they're very successful, they keep it on the down low. They, these psychics spread across the board. They don't just focus on one place where they gamble. They don't just, go to one area. And then when they vacation, they usually vacation in places that have this type of gambling. So, and they win. They win. They win big and they walk away. They don't take too much. It's not being gluttonous, right? But I know a few that do this on a regular basis. And then you'd wonder why. They all say the same thing. It's the feeling. The feeling, right? So, then you get the psychics who will tell people, oh, you're going to win, right? Or here's your numbers. 2014, an English waiter had a dream that his manager won a boatload of money. At his urging, the man bought a ticket, and the pair eventually won 1.7 million pounds. That's some good dosh, right? A New Jersey man hit his state lottery jackpot twice in 6 months, totaling over 1 million, which a psychic had predicted beforehand. And then in Thailand, countless people flock to a deadly accident-prone stretch of road in hopes that spirits will give them a glimpse of winning lottery numbers, which is really nuts. Those 3 instances is not what I'm going to be talking about, but they're instances of precognition, of having those dreams, of having those feelings, or seeking out, spirits who died a horrible death in a car just to ask them what the lottery numbers are. I'd be so mad. I would follow you home and I would haunt you good. I would haunt you good. Try to drag me into that, man. So, but people do take advantage of their psychic abilities to win at gambling and the stock market, you know. I mean, but it's a skill, right? And, you know, inside of me, I'm like, you know, if you're psychic, you know, it's a gift, but yeah, sure, it's a gift, but it's still a skill. It's something that you can utilize to turn into something positive in your life. Is it cheating? No. Is it something negative? No. I wouldn't say go and gamble all the time, you know, especially now since Vegas opened up. No social distancing, no masks, people smoking inside. You know, as COVID can ride the smoke, but this new variant, the two new variants, the Delta, well, three, right? Delta, Delta Plus, and then this Lambda. These variants are aerosolized. So they're going to hang out up in the air for hours, and they can ride the smoke 0.003 microns. You know, the virus is lighter than that. It's going to ride the smoke right into people's lungs, man. The CDC already mentioned that back in January. I asked the question January over a year ago. So I stay away from remote gambling. If you use remote vision, then you know to stay away from places like that. Really, right now anyway, because things are exploding. Anyway, so what is remote viewing for the novice, for the people out there who don't know, for the ones who are out there saying, things that make you go, All right. So it's a psychic ability, but it's an ability, and you don't have to be psychic to have it. So it's an ability, right, to remote view using your extrasensory perception. Remote viewing is essentially seeing and being able to describe unseen objects using only the mind. So the mind is putting these things together, the spirit, your third eye, what you're gathering, well beyond your eyeballs. You know, that vision is your inner vision. It's something that you're feeling, right? So, all right. People ask, is remote viewing real? Okay. Various governments and labs around the world have invested millions and millions of dollars and time into examining remote viewing and using it for their own evil deeds. On one of the longest and most infamous projects, of course, as I aforementioned, is Project Stargate, which which ran for years, and they used it for all types of things, and much of it's still classified. Some of it's been declassified, and you can find it online. I mean, actual CIA reports and what they were doing and what their findings were. It's fascinating reading, and anybody who is interested should. And it's the real deal. It's not some fake crapola put out by some, wretched publication, man. I'm down on a lot of these internet sites. I'm just so sick of the amount of politics that they absorb and put forth in their stories. So you absorb it. I mean, it's brutal, man. And the advertising too. You ever go to a site, you're trying to read an article, man, and then like these ads are popping up like pop, 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 and you gotta stop what you're doing to click the thing off. And sometimes you can't click them off, and they're so distracting, and it makes you not want to go back to those sites. So the internet in the early days was so great, man, so great, especially eBay and stuff like that. No taxes on stuff. That was fun. From other states being shipped to New York anyway. And Napster, man. Yeah. Anyway. So in 1978, the Army began to investigate remote viewing and how it could be used for intelligence purposes. Keep in mind, it was many years before that because the Soviets had started, doing remote viewing. Hitler was into doing remote viewing. So you're going to go way back to the early 40s to understand how these governments were trying to utilize this thing for their own personal gain, right? So based on the data released after this program and, Project Stargate ended in 1995, They said errors were abundant throughout the experiments, and the evidence that was information could have been easily manipulated because they don't want to. See, the government is not in the business of telling the truth or being honest at all in any which way. The very fact that people thought there was going to be something in this UFO report that came out is funny. The very fact that the Discovery Channel roped off hours and hours and hours of time that night. They had Josh Gates on there, and he is what he is. My mom liked him, man. I really don't. I don't like to do it. Me personally, he is what he is. He's just a sensationalist to me. Like a lot of them, they're in showbiz, right? I mean, these aren't the real investigators in my mind. They're people who are they're Hollywood maggots. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to be mean or anything, of course, because maggots do serve an essential task sometimes. Sometimes, they're using them to eat away at diseased flesh, for instance. That's pretty cool if you've got staph infections or something like that. So anyway, Hollywood maggots. They're just people who are glory hounds who want to be out there getting attention. That's why they're in the business that they're in. But do I consider them investigators? No. When I see that Skinwalker Ranch, I laughed my ass off. Are they so far off in any kind of findings? They're not into findings. They're into putting on a show. It's a show. I like evidence. If you look in my direction, I'm going to show you evidence, or I'm not going to do it. There's going to be nothing in it for me, right? I'm going to show you the evidence, and we always get the evidence, always. Is that arrogant to say? No, because I think if you're true in your intentions, there's nothing you can't do. There's no bridge you can't build, nothing that you can't understand. So that's the deal. That's the deal. Anyway. But Project Stargate, when it came to, they said, the government says, well, a lot of the information wasn't viable, but then they redact all the information and they're not going to tell you because this is the same government that won't tell you how much toilet paper the Pentagon uses per month. This is the same government that thinks everything's a national secret, and it's none of your business to tell you anything. It's a need to know information basis, right? So when you see a bunch of UFOs flying above aircraft carrier, that is one of the most secure on water vehicles. It's an aircraft carrier. They don't go anywhere without having a battle group with them. They're an aircraft carrier. You don't get close to them without having a missile shot at you if you don't identify yourself. So for them to say, we don't know what it is, that's like, wow. And then almost that they're turning a blind eye or having people do it, people in their everyday life. They're thinking, well, what was that? Like they want to know, but they're terrified of the answer because the answer is far beyond their imagination and or expectations, right? It's the unknown. Whenever you're dealing with the unknown, it's hard to prepare your mind for something like that. So a lot of people will go into a box and stay there, and then they'll compartmentalize. Or they'll go out 4th of July, have some barbecue and have a few drinks and all the stuff that they do. That's great. But what are those UFOs floating around that aircraft carrier, and are they a danger to us? If they can just come and go when they want, and do whatever they want, and there's a lot of people that will say, if they want to do that, they would have done it already. And I agree, because there's no point in waiting. One of the most frustrating things when I'm watching a movie, right? And then they get to the point, like a James Bond, and, they got him tied up and they're ready to kill the dude. And then they go into this big, long freaking explanation of why and what and where and all that. And then James Bond escapes and they kill the guy. They kill, the the criminal. I'm like, why don't you just kill him? Why are you going through the whole thing? You know why? Because then the movie would be over. That's why. That's Hollywood. They don't want evidence. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want any of that. Same for the government. Same for all that. You guys want to know the truth. The people out there who are the backyard investigators, the ones who actually want to know the answer for themselves, you are the true explorers. You're the people who are out there collecting information, and you're doing it for really the greater good, right? It's the greater good. Or you're nuts. Either or, you know? Either or. I'm willing to take either or, right? So, remote viewing, successful applications in gambling. All right. Even despite what researchers seem to suggest, many continue to claim they are capable of remote viewing and that they use the skill for profit. Two of these proclaimers were, in fact, researchers involved with Stargate. There you go. And you know why? Because the government doesn't pay anything, man. And then after you're done working for the government, you get nothing. If you're some psychic, there's the door. That's it. See you later. Ha ha ha. And what are they supposed to do? They head to Vegas is what they do. So two of these guys were involved with Stargate. After leaving the project, Russell Targ and Harry Puthoff formed a psychic services company called Delphi Associates. In a series of remote viewing tests that involved Targ and Puthoff sensing where in the city the other was for the day, then placing the corresponding bet on the futures market, sensing that they were at the San Francisco wharf, meant a bet on the market going down. At Transamerica Skyscraper, a bet is going up. All right. The pair claimed they made 9 out of 10 clients serious money doing this, and also that they later raised $25,000 to start a private school by using the method. 25 grand isn't that much. This is a long time ago. This is what 25 grand would be worth, like 250 grand now, right? Other proclamations of using a remote viewing in gambling describes using a technique that crosses over into the law of attraction territory. And this is very interesting, the law of attraction, right? So that is visualize the amount of money you want to win, how it would make you feel, and what you would do with it, then go gamble. So you pull it towards you, you open the door, the psychic door, and you walk through because you're having a mental dress rehearsal. You're actually envisioning this. You're seeing yourself with that and also thinking past it, what you had already done with it. Not that, oh man, I need money right now, so I'm going to gamble and try to make the money and whatever. That's not thinking through your target. In martial arts, we think through our target. When I hit the heavy bag, I'm not thinking of the surface that I'm striking. I'm thinking of the other side and where my fist is going to end up. That's the deal, right? So, like remote viewing, visualization and positive affirmation techniques like this are largely anecdotal, though, subject to confirmation bias, and also a difficult thing to replicate in a controlled environment. That said, there are plenty of remote viewing books, audio tapes, and online services claiming that you can use remote viewing to win big. And I would avoid all of them. I wouldn't buy any one of them, not one of them. I wouldn't waste my time because you don't need those things. You need this show right now, which is free to you worldwide, 181 countries. That's right. You need this show because we're going to talk about how to do this, man. And it's technique. It's like any kind of technique. Oh, you don't know how to do something. You can learn how to do it. It doesn't matter what it is. You can learn how to do it. So, let me see. All right. The trump card for question for critics of remote viewing always seem to be the same. If psychic powers are the real thing, why haven't the Edgar Cayce or Miss Cleo's and other famous psychics used their powers to win all that money? All right, I'll give you an answer that Miss Cleo was fake. They're all fake. These are fake people. There were swindlers. Miss Cleo had wasn't her real name, obviously. Had gone to prison multiple times for swindling people. So, but the real psychics who are doing this and making money, they don't want to tell you. They don't want to let you know because then the government hunts them down for taxes too and things like that. A lot of them will gamble away from the businesses that are in Vegas and Atlantic City or these casinos on Indian reservations, and they'll go for private gambling where the odds are better. They'll make more money, and it's secretive, so no one knows of how much they're raking in. That's the deal, right? So, but these people will win no matter what. They're playing roulette, they're playing horses, or investing or whatever, because it's the feeling. And that feeling has, don't you think that over time you develop the point where it becomes natural instinct when you react. A good soldier who learns how to fight in a war will react when something happens. He's a seasoned soldier. This isn't just some person you're sitting on your couch and something goes on. The way you react is differently because you're not a seasoned soldier, unless you're a seasoned soldier who's sitting on your couch. Let's like that. So, okay. All right. So, you may not be able to go and make millions in the lottery, right? You may not be able to hit all those numbers. Some people, numbers do come to them, but to get the right numbers and remember those numbers, you would have to be pretty intuitive when it comes to that. It's not just picking one instance. Oh, you're playing like roulette, and you pick your number 34 or whatever. I don't know. And then that's what you saw in your mind was happening. You're placing the scene. It's kind of like, what? You have deja vu. It's like almost like triggering deja vu, and this is all before it happens. There's times I had deja vu where I could tell you what was going to happen next, who was going to call me, what I was going to see and experience. And it happens quite often. This has happened to me since I was a child. So that's just me. All right. When you're looking at non-viewing, the aim is to become detached from the material world, right? You try to adopt an attitude of non-caring and letting go. The more, it's kind of an irony in life, the more you care about something, the more liability you put out there, and the more it detracts from your spirit. It sounds terrible, but like saying, oh, you shouldn't care about, your other or your kids, and, the whole hold on loosely, don't let go type of song. And, that's more important because it's a level of detachment, but you're still there. When you put too much into something, the energy becomes so strong. I feel like it almost triggers bad things because of it, especially if people are too possessive or if they're too much. They just hold on too much, right? They attach themselves like a leech. That's the show tonight. Maggots, leeches. So the aim is to detach. You don't need it. You become neutral. That's a good word for it, right? You adopt that attitude, right? So many successful psychics say that the world somehow seems different when they're in the strongest psychic state of mind. And, well, it's beyond the mind, right? So you don't force yourself. You don't try too hard. You don't even try at all, right? You just see what comes and accept it without judgment. When you're thinking of a certain situation and you're trying to envision the future of that situation, with the laws of attraction, if you envision it and you create it, and supposedly you create the world around you with your feelings and your energy. But when you're trying to see yourself in that situation, your mind might not want to accept the outcome, and you want to push it away. I went through that with my mom's death, where when she was diagnosed for cancer 3.5 years ago, and went through the whole process of it, of the chemo and the whole bit. I mean, you get a feeling, and no matter how you don't want that feeling, it's the truth, and it's something that you just have to live with. And it's something that you don't want to push. You want to push away. Death, you have to accept, because it happens and you're not bringing them back into that physical form. There are people in relationships that suffer the same type of emotion, right? And you know the way things are going and what has to happen, but they don't, both of them or one of them don't want to let go, right? There's that. So remote viewing, the truth can be ugly, but if you create the world around you, the truth can be beautiful because you're the one creating it. And you ever know those people who are like, my life sucks, this happened, this is terrible, oh, this is probably going to happen and that's going to be terrible, oh, I'm going to do this and that'll be terrible. They always have the worst luck. They always suffer the worst calamity. Every time you turn around, they're always complaining about some crap in their lives. They're the ones doing it to themselves. It's they themselves. That's their lives. We're all going to suffer adversity in this horrible life, every last one of us, but it's how we respond to it. That's the important part, right? And do you let it stop you or do you let it motivate you to do better, or get beyond it? Even death, because the people who love you, who die, don't want you to feel bad for them, right? I'll leave that there. So if you want to use remote viewing in games, you envision just what I said before, right? You envision what's going to happen. You start, you ever see these games people play, the psychic cards, right? And there's multiple cards. You can buy them on eBay, anywhere around Amazon. And one has squiggly lines, and they'll have different shapes, geometric shapes, and whatever, or sometimes a number. And then you sit across from the person and you ask them what the card says, and then they think for a second, or they get this feeling, whatever, and they tell you the card. There are psychics that can do that. Nearly every card. There are psychics who are good in other areas that can't see the cards at all because they're good in other areas, right? So there's that too. So not everybody has that can be so accurate. Some people, they said the average person, was about from 1/3 to 50% right when the average person who thought they had psychic abilities when they went to do this. Now that's pretty extraordinary, because there's a lot of different cards. So it comes down to the laws of averages, I guess, right? But in the spiritual process, there are no cards, and but there are games that you can play even with your friends. There are people that will request a friend, say, hey, take an envelope and write down a couple things in there, simple, not the Gettysburg Address or anything, but just something simple, right? A word, or even a word that might represent a color or something like that, right? So if you write down orange, they might say orange, or they might spell out the word itself. But you have your friend do this and you tell them to keep it on their person, and then, have a few envelopes with a few different things and number the envelopes, and then see what kind of stuff you get. I mean, it's, if you focus and you concentrate, you might surprise yourself, right? So when it comes to religion, a lot of religious faiths say gambling is sinful, unless they do it. They have that bingo night, right? They also had, I remember Las Vegas night at the Catholic Church, and oh man, Monte Carlo night. I don't know what their thing is. That gambling is bad unless you're giving the money to them. They didn't finish the sentence, right? So I don't believe in any of that stuff, and man-made religion makes me laugh to begin with. So, but there are two dangers in gambling, right? The first is the risk of losing more you can afford, because you don't want to do that. So you have to set your limits to your gambling, right? Which will give you that comfort zone, right? There's risk to everything, no matter what you do. You go to court, there's a risk of winning and losing. Whatever, man. Yeah, it's life. And we're talking about more remote viewing and using it basically to increase your sensitivity and unconscious information. How's that? So, all right, I'm gonna tell you right now, because the show's clicking away. It's gonna be over soon. Try your eyes at remote viewing, right? This is what you do. And we want you to write this down or listen to the show over again or record it, whatever the hell you got to do. Select a range of targets. Like I said, ask the friend or family member to select, even how about pictures, 4, 5, 6 pictures. Ask them to cut the images from magazines and paste them onto a sheet of paper, and put those images in an envelope, right? Real world pictures. They could be of a famous person or whatever, and see what they get. Some people use architecture, a certain building, famous building, the World Trade Center. That's an ominous picture because it's not there anymore anyway. Or Empire State Building, one of the most recognized buildings in the world, Statue of Liberty, that type of thing. And for the Statue of Liberty, they might get all kinds of different information because what you're asking to absorb the information is beyond your hearing, your vision, your basic senses. You're reaching in to reach out, right? So number 2, you ask your assistant, whoever that is, to put the images in that envelope, right? Like I said before, you quiet your mind. You want as little mental noise as possible. There are people who are so good at this. They can be in the loudest environment. They could be in Grand Central Station at the most, popular time of day for traveling, and they can block everybody out just like that, That's pretty amazing. I can't do that. That's pretty amazing. I can create a bubble. I'm good at that, where I keep my energy in and I block out other people's energy when I'm in those environments, because there are people that'll suck up your energy, man. It really is. So you want to let go. Like I said before, let go, and all right, write down the date and time and any ideas you want to let go of that might distract you while viewing. It's good. Like, in the Lantern Festival, which I celebrate every year, right? Which is around the Chinese New Year, it's all surrounding that. I used to go and make a little raft out of like sticks and twigs and whatever, and vine, and put a little tea light candle on there and a little sail, make a sail out of some leaves and that type of stuff, and write down on a piece of paper the things I want to get rid of, the things I want to let go. I put it in there and then sail it down the river. Let it go. You could also do it with a black candle, man. If you got like a little pot of water, distilled water preferably, and a black candle, and you take the candle and you anoint it with myrrh oil, and you take a pin and you write down the things that you want to let go, and you let that thing burn down into the water, and then dig a hole and then dump the whole thing and bury it. I'm telling you, getting rid of negativity is not that hard to do, and there's nothing wrong with it. And it's a fun little ritual to focus on, to get rid of bad stuff, right? So you let go, right? All right, so call the first target to mind. You begin the session by describing the most basic impressions you get that you have the first target, site, event, or person, what you look in the envelope, right? What do you feel is the predominant thing in the target? Analyze your feelings. Is it natural? Is it artificial? Is it surrounded by land or water? You write down several of descriptors, right? You do not second guess yourself. The worst thing you could do is second guess yourself. You write down the first thing that comes to your mind. The fainter, the better. Just make sure you write down the information as descriptively as possible, and don't judge anything, right? You connect the dots unconsciously. Information is coming from your mind and basically your nervous system, The idea is that your unconscious already knows everything that there is to know about the target. It's just that it has to communicate to you, your conscious mind. It does that through your body with very subtle sensations and feelings, right? You describe the basics. Write down sensory information that comes up, like visuals, smells, tastes, temperatures. You may start perceiving sizes, shapes, and patterns, right? Also known as dimensionals, okay? You may even start to feel an emotional reaction to the target. You draw a sketch of the target. You take your time. You don't worry about how your sketch looks. You don't, like you said, you don't second guess yourself. You find a bird's eye view Imagine yourself floating several hundred feet over your target area. Is there anything surprising about the target you can perceive? Make a note of your final impressions about the target. You end the session. You write down the time, a brief summary of what you perceived, and then after that, you get your feedback. You know, so you pull the top photo from the envelope and see how you did. You see how accurate you were. You know, and then you keep reviewing and repeating. If you do that, spiritual muscles, right? Spiritual muscles. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being more perceptive. You often hear stories on how a mother thought their kid was in danger, and then they went to where they were. They called them up or whatever, and then they were right. Or a twin feels that another twin's in danger or something happens and they were right. There are people who are connected. There's no reason why you can't be connected to everyone and everything. Look at the internet. It's a very, very good analogy of being connected and how instantaneous. I can send a picture or a video to my friend Nick in Australia right now. He'll get it in a second. He'll have it and be able to comment on it and start watching it or start checking it out, going across the world and that. See, that's what you need to focus on, is that communication. But if you want to go, I don't care if it's Vegas. I don't care if, what the situation is, whatever's going to benefit you. When you strengthen these abilities, you get that feeling. And when something's off or something's wrong, your spider senses, my friend Art says it's a spider sense, like Spider-Man type of thing. The spider sense goes up and to stay away, to get involved, to do whatever but now when it comes to numbers and shapes and letters, how far off is that? Because if you can envision these things, especially laws of attraction, you can pull these things into you. You're envisioning what you're already doing and what you already want and what you want to accomplish, and then going on from there. It's like chess, about thinking 7 or 8 moves ahead, and you already know where you're going to go. You're already anticipating what your opponent is doing. Same for remote viewing, same for life. There's that same type of energy. It's that deep intuition, but also it's that spiritual energy that reaches out, So strengthen your ability. Give me an email, man. Let me know how you did, and what your level of understanding is. I think that's awesome. So I'm going to end the show on that note. This is me, Michael Angley, on Discovery Paranormal on United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, the only place where you're going to find real serious investigators. I'm not going to put other stations down or other people, but we have the most knowledgeable people on this staff that I've ever seen anywhere. And I'm not just saying that. It's actually true. Maybe for 1 or 2 of them are good, but the rest of them are awesome. I'll see you guys. UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 New Orleans, 104.7 in Paris Christian, all over the world, 181 countries, going strong. Bye.